Moderator. All right. All right, guys, we're down to the home stretch. And I hope I'm speaking on behalf of everybody in North Carolina. I hope you guys have had a great time. We are really excited to share with you from the perspectives of some of our family navigators. We have with us today Shagun Gaur, who is from the Autism Society of North Carolina. We have Felicia Williams Brown, who is also from the Autism Society of North Carolina, and Mariela. Say it. Did I say it close? Because I always need to be looking at it to get it right. There you go. Okay, fantastic. That's important from a cultural perspective. The least we can do is try to pronounce people's names. So that is actually really important to me. So welcome our panelists. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I think this is really important to hear from family navigators. And thank you for being willing to share your perspectives on working with families. And from a cultural perspective, sharing with us about what it is to work with diverse families in the community. Those families that we normally think of as unserved, underserved, and rural families. And North Carolina is a very rural state. So I'm gonna turn it over to our panel, and they're going to be answering these three questions. Why is family navigation important for families that you work with? What types of services do families request the most for navigation help? And what are the resources families most need from family navigators? So I'm going to turn it over first to Shagun, and she's going to share working with the families that she works with. Shagun.
First of all, can you hear me? Tap it.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, a little closer.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me here. First of all, it's been a great experience yesterday and today. Little nervous. Thank you. I work as an autism resource specialist with the Autism Society of North Carolina, and I'm also a parent of a 24-year-old on the autism spectrum. I also happen to be from India. I grew up over there, and English is not my first foreign language. I think as being in that role, I provide a gateway or access to others who have a similar path. This is a very unique role I get to play, and I'm very proud of that. I think my job is like a catalyst, and that helps improve healthy outcomes in folks that I serve. The first-hand knowledge and unique understanding of what the other families go through is something that we can connect with and build that trust that facilitates the care. We can address the deep-rooted issues related to distrust in providers and healthcare systems, and also that lead to avoidance of health problems and non-compliance and treatment recommendations. Research has shown that language discordant encounters where patient and clinician don't speak the same language, they don't tend to follow through, that leading to worse health outcomes and reduced access to health information. The limited language proficiency often leads to missing important medical appointments and could be a hidden barrier to seeking healthcare services. By building that bridge of communication, we can help facilitate improvement of their overall health. There are several times that families from various cultures resonate with me and find comfort that I understand the cultural biases and how that affects every decision making that affect the family decision. It's a connection and how it makes people feel engaged and connected rather than isolated. I think this role is extremely important because it provides access to one and all that can benefit from it and relate with the similarities in cultural perspectives. The most important role of a family navigator, according to me, is to assure that the family with a need receives timely assistance. Since we serve families from varying backgrounds and needs, it's important to offer them a mentorship and evidence-informed strategy that offers them hope to overcome obstacles. Family navigation can provide psychosocial support, help coordinate services, and provide recommendations about the next steps. Very often I share my own lived experience. They connect with me on a different level. For example, if you struggle with a specific challenge or an issue, it's hard to communicate that to an individual who has no idea what you are going through or what they have experienced. But when you find that common thread, it's easy to communicate. When I share my own example of what I felt when my son was diagnosed, I usually bring that up and talk about it openly, how it affected me as a mother, as a person who went to medical school and understood autism, but when it came face on, I was numb, I was in a shock, I had a myriad of emotions, and I say about that out loud, so the other person hearing that can give some validity, like, oh, if I felt that grief and that anger and the denial, I'm not alone, there are other people like me. Everyone feels stuck sometimes, and in these moments, if someone else can offer some clarity or guidance to move forward, it can just pull them out of that haze. I often give an example where two friends are walking, and if one falls into the ground in a pit or some sort, the other friend gives them the helping hand and brings them out and offers some objectively guidance, clarity to move forward. I often think of our role as that helping hand to the family. And again, symbolically, what I'm trying to say is we were in that pit one time. We were in that darkness and unclear, frustrated moment. And we can express that, we can share that. But now that we have come out of that, we can give that lending hand to others. I think one of the questions was what types of services do we help for navigation? So people come to us for various things. Some of them have just gotten a diagnosis on a paper with 15 agencies, call them, and they reach out and they're like, okay, what do we do now? Where are you going? I have a newly diagnosed kid. What do I do next? I have an upcoming IEP. Who should I reach out to? My kid has a lot of behavior challenges. How do I get the help? My kid is going to graduate out of high school. What happens after that? Because we know there's nothing much after graduation, and a lot needs to happen there. How do I find social opportunities for my team? Summer camps for my kid, therapeutic programs that they would participate in. How do I help my teen child to learn about life skills? What is guardianship? How do I even navigate that? What are the various services available to my child? Some come with specific questions like what is SSI? What is the cable account? Some come to us with completely nothing, like, hey, my kid just got diagnosed. I have no idea what happens next. Help me. We help assistance with a lot of crisis calls, people who are homeless and going through a mental health meltdown. Provider agencies reach out to us, asking for, okay, what happens next? How can we help? Financial assistance for parents and whatnot. Help with counselors when we have issues. Parents come to us for finding support, meeting other parents who are going through the same thing, support groups, therapies. Some people are speculating to move to North Carolina from a different state, and they have no idea how to navigate those services in North Carolina. We help them understand what it looks like to navigate through that. What are innovations waiver services? What's the wait time? what is it available to me, and am I eligible for that? Sometimes judges offer mandatory training that parents have to come and offer. One of the things that we do on a regular basis as autism resource specialists and navigators is to offer free webinars and workshops to individuals who require more training. We also offer trainings to professionals, paraprofessionals, and help them understand that. I think there was another question about what resources the family most needed from a family navigator. Every voice matters, and listening closely to someone who is in need is an act of love. One of the greatest gifts one person can give to another. So by offering a non-judgmental listening ear offers them empathy in a time of chaos. By offering to be a source of calm and strength, someone who could share their lived experience and inspire them, hopefully, a guide who could show the way, if need be, or more hand-holding sometimes, if required. A good understanding of their culture and perspectives on things and topics. I come from India and I understand that culture because it's very different than the culture that I have now come to live in. So I get to share that and I understand why they behave way. But I think besides that culture, we also have a different culture. Every family has a different culture. There's ways that folks sleep, take a bath, all those things. It's important to understand what they bring to the table. Also to understand what is their family's need and necessity, and use that as a building block for other needs. Sometimes just problem solving could do the trick, because when you are in a state of shock, your brain has turned into mush or have a brain fog. There might be triggers that stimulate the fight, flight, or freeze response. And it sends a cocktail of chemicals and hormones throughout the body that manifest symptoms of exhaustion and feeling that you can't think straight. And I found that even yesterday, trying to navigate how to come here, and I joke about it, but it was a problem solving episode for me. I went into that state of shock. It's like I'm not able to ever going to find this place. The GPS was taking me one way, and so I had to pause, take a deep breath, and come back to okay, let's do this again. And sometimes that pause, and then there was one lady who helped me, and I, in a way, that was the navigator who kind of showed me the way, like, okay, go here. And that was a helping hand that led me to where I wanted to go. Timely support, because that's very important. Many people are just tired of waiting on long wait lists and everything. So offer that peer to parent emotional support, increasing the welfare of the family, acknowledging their fears and anxieties, what the future holds. Because when my kid was young, I used to often look at other people and wonder what's going to happen to my child when they grow up to be that. And my kid is there, he's 24. It's important to give them some hope, some inspiration, something that you can do it. Just take the next step. Facilitating a bridge between the providers and the families to reduce their anxiety. Many times we are also on phone calls with the providers, kind of again doing that more hand holding, getting to give them a sense of okay, some moral support, offering the IEP support and things like that, training opportunities. Just having an insight to the family culture and then past history is extremely important. That we don't know what that person has gone through, what trauma they have gone through, and just kind of helping them navigate that. I think that's crucial. I think I'm gonna rest here. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Felicia. I am a connection and resource specialist with ADNIC. I also am a certified mental first aid trainer. I am certified in RAP training, QPR suicide prevention, and several others, but that's just to give you a background about me professionally. I am also a mother of a child with autism. My son is 14 and he was diagnosed at the age of 2. I do have 2 other children, 1 adult child that is 26. I had to count something. Wow. And then I have a 12-year-old who, my daughter, she's my only girl and she's like the boss of the house. So yeah. And I'm here to speak from the perspective of an African American family from that lens and how family navigation impacts that world. So it's no secret that systemic oppression has made it harder for Black families to access, anything from housing to healthcare to education, the whole gambit. So our families, there are 2, I guess, unspoken things I think is important for me to voice today for you guys to understand as family navigators. They're working from this unspoken place of survivalship and Black excellence. So there's these 2 dual things that's happening. We're in survival mode a lot of times because of the impact of that systemic oppression. But then because of that too, we're also constantly trying to prove ourselves. And that's where that Black excellence speech comes from in our culture. And so we're constantly gauging that. So it's important, I think, for family navigators to be culturally competent when they're dealing with Black families. Yes, you might be talking about a thing, but just know that thing is layered in those other things for our Black families. And it's important for you to keep that in mind. If you're not aware of those things, start reading about it, start learning about it. It's hard to know if you haven't lived it. And it's not just a thing for Black families. It's in the words of autism, like, yes, I'm a mom of a child with autism, but I'm also a Black mom of a child with autism. And so there's a totally different layer there. So having that cultural competence is important. If you don't know, or if you're not aware, just explore that. I also say that it's important because we really need support. We need to be empowered with advocacy. We need guidance to ensure that our families receive the appropriate services. As family navigators, I'm sure you know that we don't know what we don't know. And so when we come to family navigators, we are looking at you like you have all the answers. And so it's important that you give them resources that are vetted. It's important that they feel that they can trust you. It's important that we're represented, and that goes beyond family navigation. That's just the system-wide thing, right? The more we see people like us, the more that we can trust, the more that we can feel comfortable. Just the way that we speak our language, the way that we talk about our struggles is important. That family navigators are conscious of that. What types of services do families request the most for navigation help? I would say for Black families, and of course I'm not the guru of that, like I'm just one Black person, but just professionally from my role, and then just for myself personally, it would be those formal supports, the school system, that's a big one, financial supports, respite care, those sorts of things. But I think what is most helpful is, and for you guys to kind of keep in mind for Black families too, is that language. And what I mean by language is, there's so many acronyms in healthcare, and there's so many verbiage, like these little short phrases that we use to get through to a person to kind of get what we need. And we need to be empowered with that language. So give us the language, help us to know how to advocate, for ourselves. Connect us with community resources and vetted resources, not just give us a whole list of numbers, but like really truly resources that help. I would say informal resources are huge because you all know it's a countrywide problem. We find out, oh, I qualify for this, I'm gonna apply for these things, but now I have to wait, or now I have to figure out how am I gonna make this work. You know, I finally got my child here, or I'm finally connected to this, but I still have needs and I have to wait. And so I would say building your database or your repertoire of informal supports that are extremely impactful will go a long way for these families. As far as sustainability and like resources most needed for family navigators, I would say those things, you know, and the more that you empower our families, it doesn't take long for them to become advocates themselves, which then builds more support in the community, which then builds more advocates, which then, you know, empowers that system and it spreads. I can say my personal journey, my son was diagnosed at the age of 2. And when we received our diagnosis, I didn't know any other Black family with a child with autism. And we were just learning about autism. And so our journey, my husband and I, we were kind of like pioneers of, you know, educating families about it, educating our family about it, explaining away everything. And we really did not have a lot of support. And so I would say to you too, understand that as you're working with these families, culturally, they might not have the support because our community is still learning about a lot of these things. And so it's important that you realize that, okay, I'm giving this caregiver this information, I'm giving this person this information, but how am I caring for this person? Like, is this person in a mental health crisis? Do they know that they're going to need this kind of support? Do they have somebody they can talk to, you know, while they're having to wrap their head around, you know, I have to run here and do this. I have, you know, do I need to get FMLA because I'm having to take all this time from work to run my child to all these appointments? Am I able to be a part of things because they're during the day when I'm working and I'm not free? So I just wanted to put all of these different colors out here for you so that you can really see how coming from a perspective of Black people, when you are supporting Black families, those are things you want to be thinking about. And it's not just limited to Black families, but I can say that is definitely something that is unique to us. And I know for me, what was helpful was I did have some people, some professionals who did provide excellent cultural support to me who were not Black. You know, they with IEP meetings to me, they told me, listen, they're gonna say these things about your child and it's gonna sound horrible. It was my first IEP meeting, I'll never forget. And you hear them saying all these things like your child can't, your child can't, your child can't. And I was prepped for it. And it was still hard. And afterwards, I'll never forget, I left. We were in the parking lot and she looked at me and I just cried. And she hugged me. And then she shared some of her own journey with me. Those are the ways that you help support people. And I can say that she did that very well. She followed us. She was with CBSA. I'll never forget her. And she followed my family all the way up until we entered the school system. I will never forget that. I can say that we've had our struggles in school. We've had a lot of examples of what not to do, but there are some wonderful examples of what to do. And so I would just say, the work that you do is important. You do have the opportunity to make a life-changing impact on a family, on a person. So if you keep those things in mind, just know that this isn't just anything that you're doing. This is major work, and this is life changing. It's not just about the child or the person. It is about the community, and your place in it is so valuable. So that's what I want to share.
I think it's good afternoon again, or good morning. Right? So my name is Mariela Maldonado. I am from Peru. I live in the United States almost a little more than 29 years here in the United States. I came here when my son was diagnosed with a neurological syndrome in my country. We found out that in Miami they have a surgery for that. We went with my husband and the two other children to try this surgery. It was a time when our life needed a lot of services, therapies. And we tried to be legal resident, and we got this possibility because my husband was working for an international company anyway. So I live here in the United States with my special child who has autism and other conditions. He's 20 years old. My son is Alvaro Malaber. And I have another two young adult children that they are in the way to try to teach me because they believe they know everything, but they are so complicated stuff. But I am learning, so I was complicated myself in my house, so very complicated. So she's so much invitation to be here. I'm so excited to talk about the experience in talking about the Hispanic culture. So I'm going to share with you today in the morning. I was trying to be ready to come today, so I was trying to find out what dress I can wear, what means, what generally, everything. And suddenly come to my mom, all the things, all the advices. Try to use a dark jacket. Don't show your shoulders. Don't wear sandals because sandals are for the beach. Something like that. So you make me think, mom, of course. So I tried to remember I was choosing everything. And also at this time when I was looking what days I can wear today, reminding the things at the time when my mom came to visit to my country, from my country to Miami at this time, when my son needed so many surgeries he can provide. And she tries to find out what is the reason my son has this diagnosis. And she told me, oh, Mariela, you need to be so strong and you need to fall in God because he is with you and you need to be with him. So this one gave me the idea, okay, I remember that I'm religious, but how this word for me helped me to understand that really my mom is going back to live back to my country. I'm going to be alone with my husband, try to provide all the service for my child. I have two other children. My husband and I will try to speak English, study English in my country, but we didn't practice. At this time, nobody was talking English like right now. So we need to practice our English and everything. And then always I remember what my mom said, you need to be strong and you need to call your life with your faith in order to survive. So I remember about that. And also remember some things that were trying to locate that try to do when somebody tell me no, I said, no, we can try this one. When go to the educational identity for myself. Okay, this one, I'm going to do another way because my father and my parents, we moved from a small town in my country to a big town that Lima, the capital. And my father was like that, try to educate us and everything. And this reminded me that I need to be very strong like that. The reason I'm sharing this experience that happened to me today is because I realized that with learning, working, I cannot say that I know too much about the whole Hispanic culture because Hispanic culture, there are so many countries, so many ways to believe, like Shagun said, there is so many things that happen. So, but I can say that there are three categories of the Hispanic, or the influences of the Hispanic culture. Like one of the first is the family, that influence the family, because the family really determine how you're going to behave, how you're going to think, how you're going to find the resources, right? The second thing will be the religion, like in my case. It doesn't mean that all the Hispanic families are doing the same, but most of them are trying to fall in some way. Or they're going to fall, or they're going to deny and live a part of the religions, whatever they think is much better. And the third part would be to be immigrants. So in my case, I am here in the United States almost 30, but still I believe immigrant because I'm still here thinking about my culture, how it's going to be the influence of my life. My family is still, when I go back to my country, my friends or the school or the college still have together, but my best friends are in my country. It doesn't mean I don't have best friends here, but really this is my time. The majority of my adult life was in my country. So it happens the same with the Latino families or families who are calling us to get services. So I want to say for the navigators and professionals and everybody who's here today is when you're going to try to help our families, Hispanic families, you're going to enter a world. You're going to find that his mom is single mom, or maybe has a husband, or the child is the third husband, whatever situation happens, but you're going to understand how the whole family influence in the decisions about if the child is going to go to the school for PK or not, or the child is going to be evaluated, or the child or the family is going to deny the services or going to get the services like that. So I remember that sometimes I'm helping a family and say, okay, your child needs to be evaluated or like that, and you're going to say, no evaluation, no need. I believe my son is going to be much better because it's my fault. I didn't go to the park, or I didn't let him to play with another cousin. I believe it's my fault. They feel like that. So in this way, I cannot say, oh, you are mistaken. It's not like that. So I'm going to listen to them and try to give the options and all the possibilities for the child instead to say what she's supposed to do, but at least I can give you the services. The other situation happened about the mask and about the scene or the situation that is my fault, something like that. I remember some parents told me, oh, I don't know how to say to my mom that my child has autism. I remember my mom told me, don't go to the United States, don't cross the border, you abandon the family. So right, I'm here with another country with a child with special needs. So maybe it's something I'm not supposed to do. And another say, okay, so I try to be in love with a guy who's supposed to support me, right? I'm here. So I'm going to say to my parents that my child has autism in my husband's leg. So I don't know how to say. So in this conversation, this case, the mom, but they're looking at somebody who can listen, not somebody who can tell him what to do, but at least to listen what happens. So this situation happens. So you as a navigators, you are going to find the way the family sometimes are calling only to listen, only to be listened, only to share what happened in their lives. And maybe they don't need exactly what you're supposed to do, but it is a time to share. This has happened to me, like Felicia said, and Shagun said, I give so many support for Hispanic and also for American people who give me all the advice and ideas about how to work with my child. Really, in my case, well, in different cases, in my case has autism, neurological syndrome, mental retardations, mental health, and behaviors. So I can navigate in different ways to the group homes, special services, and everything. So in my case, this situation happens to me. So I don't believe it happens for the whole Latino families, but I believe it's going to be good options. And another thing I would like to say when you are asking what is the importance that as a navigator in the Hispanic community, I will say that you open the doors, that it's about the work, because most of the families came here because they try to do the best here in the United States because they don't have opportunities or whatever situation happens back in their country. So they came here, they don't understand about that, but sometimes they say, okay, I'm calling you because my doctor told me that I need to call you, so please help me. So, what do you need? I don't know, but what can I need to do? What help I have? So this is something that most of the questions really is about what I need to do. I have my child with autism. What is next? Do I need to go to the school? Do I need to get evaluations? Or do I need to get therapies? Who is going to help me? Something like that. So this is the way that we're going to help them, to teach them what is here, and they can choose what they can get the services. And also, I believe sometimes families are trying to wait so many times, waiting to be helped. In some way, they believe somebody is going to knock the door or call to say, okay, you have a child with autism, let me help you. But sometimes I teach them. Sometimes I say, unfortunately, unless it's something a very close friend is going to give you a help, but you need to request help. Oh, I didn't know, I was waiting, somebody want to call me, something like that. So this is another thing. Apparently not natural, but it's natural to teach the families that are help. And it's okay to request help. it's okay that you can say, I need to have another IP meeting, which is here in North Carolina, the individual education plan. So you can request a meeting to request something that you don't like at the school or you believe is not working for your child. So it's something that is not in any kind of a guide, but it's something educated that you have the right to say, no, I don't like this work here. I don't like these services. I want to change the school. I don't believe the driver, the bus driver is nice for my child. So there is so many things that we need to teach them in some ways. Let me tell you something probably you know about that. I'm going to share. In some countries, in some areas of the countries, the authorities to make decisions about what is the base for the family is the teacher, the pastor of the church, and the doctors, the medical doctors. So they are waiting to get help from them. Whatever decide the teacher, this is good for your child, it's not good, they are going to follow. If the doctor says no evaluation, yes evaluation, or your child needs to wait to get services, they follow as well. It's the same, if the doctor says this is no good, or something like that, and you are seeing whatever situation, whatever they say, they believe, because this is the three principal authorities back in the country. Especially, I'm going to say, it's not happening in all cultures, in the whole Hispanic culture, but there are some cases like that. So that's the reason so many families are waiting to get somebody's going to call them. So when we call the families, or the families call me, please say, nobody told me that I can apply for that. Nobody told me about that. So, okay, that's okay. We're going to help you in this way. We're going to give you this information. Because it's really, they believe in some way that they're going to be helped. But anyway, the good information is the new navigators are present here. We have this conference. There are so many families right now that are going to need help because you're coming here and you're learning a lot. And I appreciate so much for you doing a lot because we have a big population in North Carolina about that. They really working with Hispanic families is going to help us to understand this more, to find a way to help them, and also to discover something that probably is not happening in our culture. That we have Felicia and Shagun said that try to help in different ways, and we have a different cultures really in helping. In my case, maybe I have a couple Hispanic in the whole 20 years living here in the United States, but the majority of them are people that are here in North Carolina or the United States. They help me so much. I remember so much that the reason I am here in working at the Autism Society is because one of the autism resource specialists at this time was very advocate, Linda Griffin, that worked years ago in Autism Society. She was my first advocate when I called because the teacher of the school was, she said, my son is so hyper, so your child needs to be until 12 because it's too much. He wants to go home and I need to work. So I called Autism Society and said, can you help me? And they go straight. And I really admire the way that she told the teacher to say, this is the right, you need to find a way to work with the child. And I was so really impressed that I went back to the Autism Society and presented my resume. I want to work with her. Incredible, really, because she was passionate. I was so scared to make the question, but she was so strong. She didn't know me, but she died for my child. And the teacher really was completely surprised because she told me she believed that whatever she said I'm supposed to follow. I said, no, I'm going to follow somebody in being the head in this case. So also, by the way, Linda also in another period is helping to navigate from Colorado to here because I was living in Colorado and the service was far away. I need to drive 3 hours or 8 hours to traffic specialist. And they told me the best place here in the United States for the autism was Autism State in North Carolina. So there are so many things that navigating here and also when parents share with me, what can I do? I don't know what to happen. He said, first of all, you are the first, one of the best states in the United States for autism. Really, he said, you don't know, but here there are so many groups, so many information, so many resources and everything. So the families at least they have some kind of belief that way in a good way. Nothing 11 minutes. Oh, yes. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you all so much for that wealth of information. I heard a couple of things as I was listening to you. about family navigators. And the thing that I heard over and over again was kind of meet families where they are and help. Really help them access, help them feel comfortable. You know, that piece about family navigators and lived experience. We talked a lot about that yesterday, and I think that nothing is more clear than the role of family navigators having that lived experience and having that credibility that you only get from being someone who's been there, done that, comes through loud and clear. It'd be really nice if cultural competence was an easy thing. It is a lifelong learning to be culturally competent. You're always becoming, but practicing cultural humility, the desire, and the willingness and want to know about other cultures and to respect those differences that exist. You know, healthcare disparities are real, and they do create barriers, and there are stereotypes, and those stereotypes could be the kind that hinder things and stop them from having access to services that their children deserve and that their families deserve. And then I'm reminded of what Maya Angelou said. We're all more alike than we are different. So at the end of the day, what we all want is for our families, for the families we serve, for the families who look like us, for the agencies that we work with. We all want to be successful. We want our kids to be their best selves. We want to be able to be proud that we did our children justice. And so I think that, you know, it is really important, the work that family navigators do to be that bridge between providers, communities, and to help them see their value and work. And to give hope, because hope is what's really going to make a difference for this work. Nobody asked me for all that, but that's what I heard. So and so I want to say we had attended, many of you met Candy Ross, who was here yesterday. She's from the Law Boundary in Western North Carolina. She's on the Cherokee Reservation. And she was going to share perspective with you today about what it's like connecting services on the reservation, but she is not feeling well and was unable to join us today. And she was really sad about that, but she was so excited about sharing. And I know we're on the home stretch, so I have just two more questions that I would like to ask, and then I think we turn it over to you guys for any questions you might have. And that is, and for each of you, if you could think of one tip you would suggest to other navigators working with culturally diverse communities, what would that tip be? And do you have any suggestions for improving sustainability for family navigation? So we'll start with Shagun. And
Thank you. I might have a couple of jets, not one. I think everything begins with information, training, education, and knowledge is the key. If I don't have knowledge, I cannot do much. So educating ourselves and others, and I think that is the highlight of being a family navigator. So educating ourselves and others with not only the knowledge base, but also the cultural elements of it. The similarities, the differences, what could be done help the families better. One of the tips is usually we tend to bring in our biases, we all do, and we bring in we judge others by their stereotype, we all do. So try to get out of that appreciate the difference and learn to know the culture that needs to be helped. And culture does not mean just from India or Peru. Culture could be the culture of the family we are helping. Engage with them, ask questions, and training is extremely important. As far as suggestions about sustaining family navigation, continue this dialogue. This is great. A discussion needs to happen. Talk needs to be opened up on different levels. Offer the training, make it easily accessible to families that have the provider agencies. Offer them tools. What tools are there for families to implement if the services are not arriving soon enough. Customer Leach Navigator with their lived experience paired with the family that they are trying to help using the personal strengths. Offer multilingual, bilingual supports to the families. And of course, the main important thing is the funding pool needs to be open to support programs like this to keep it sustained. Thank you.
I would say, be mindful to provide emotional support. Like, I know sometimes we get so caught up in, let me get this list of people and let me get, call these people over here. But also check in with the person, and not every person is gonna want support like that. But just be mindful of that. There are a lot of people who really struggling. And no, we're not mental health professionals, but as a navigator, we can also help link people to those kinds of supports. So one tip that I would say that's so needed and so important is to have that kind of somewhere in the forefront when you're working with people. As far as sustainability, I would say start thinking about how to empower people to then empower other people. I think that's how we build a strong system. And I think when we do that, like if you're, for example, if a person is coming to you for help with school, and you just give them, the basics, but I would say kind of think beyond that and like, how can I empower this person so that maybe they won't have to come back to me for this. They can build this on their own, and then they can also share this with another mom or dad. So I'm thinking, also be thinking about going beyond just the basics. Be willing to really give a person what they need to be empowered, to then impact change. And then it just keeps going. So I think that's how we think about sustainability from the perspective of a family navigator.
I would like to say that one of the important people in a given family is to know another family. So if you have your list about the Hispanic support groups, would be great. So in our business society, we have 8 Hispanic support groups. So please contact us if you would like to, we can share, we can provide resources about that. And also we have we have meetings by online, by go to meeting, and also we have in present. So we celebrate everything, whatever we need to celebrate the Latino family. We have picnics, we have Mother's Day, we have somebody baby showers, we have a celebration also for Christmas with party, and also with Santa Claus coming and give the gifts, everything, and also we have Thanksgiving. But it's something that very nice. The family is looking so much for these events because in this way they can meet up with parents. And this is a place that they can go with the children running all over the place. So normally we provide some kind of churches or locations that they can close the door so the children can run without any problem about that. So Hispanic support group or support groups is very important for families. And I would like to say another way that I'm going to share with you, but the day is nothing important, but Latino families like to be trained in the way they train. Probably some of them they say Mrs. Garcia or Mrs. So they try to be trained. In our country, we don't say the name, the first name of the person who's going to be your teacher or your doctor or the therapist. We call it by last name, so they can be trained the same way. And I like so much when they train because I have a care coordinator alive, and they don't listen about, oh my God, so it's different. So it's not bad, but it's good in order to understand that the future skill they like to be called by last name unless you use your friend, because first name is for friends or the family members. So something is a deep, but that is something you need to be, you will need to do, but it's very important about that. Thank you.
Questions? Does anyone have any questions or comments for our panel?
I would say what Mrs. Maldonado said about the support group, and one of our centers in Northern Virginia, they have a Hispanic support group, and it makes a huge difference because it was really hard to do at first, but the person, she's bilingual, she never gave up. And so they have events around holidays, they have crafts, and what has happened is the families have learned to help and support one another. And they're also doing some of the things other things that you all said, teaching them, I think you were saying that, teaching them how to do things so they don't need them as much. Like, because some of the families have never been a doctor, because where they come from in that country, they never learned how to do it, they didn't have that resource. So the support group thing seems small, but it's actually big.
So thank you so much for sharing your perspectives, and you guys are just such great examples of moms and advocates and women. But could you talk just a little bit about how cultural differences may impact fathers and how that might differ from how it impacts you as women?
I can say for me and a lot of my colleagues, for fathers, it took my husband a while to accept. I was kind of like the person to go and hear and advocate, and then I would come home to relay. And so as a woman in my culture and in my household, I felt like, okay, I'm having to kind of do this alone. And I had to kind of, I had to help my husband get there. And then we had to help our families get there. And I can say that a lot of women are kind of in that situation. Not saying that is, please, that's not, I'm saying that's not it for everyone, but I'm saying a lot of women are in that situation where they're having to balance the information they're getting, the concerns that they have, and then now how do I implement it when I'm in a household that might not even support the information that we're receiving. The other piece of that is there really was not a whole lot of dad support. So even I could easily find women wherever I'm in, but you don't always find dads. You see that now more than you used to. But way back when we got our diagnosis, there was not any dad groups. There weren't any places that I could refer him to, any books I could refer him to. Nothing that really spoke to his concerns as a man and as a male, and what this means for our family and our child. So I can say that we have a long way to go, but I do see a lot of progress. I do see more support groups now that are geared to men, and I do see more opportunities. I actually now do see fathers in places where before, all you saw were women or the moms. So that has been, I would say, my experience.
Thank you. So in the Hispanic community, there is still here in the United States, in Wagner, country, machismo. Imagine the person who say, I'm going to do this for my son, I'm going to the school. No. It's something like that, and the mom is going to fight for that. So I think at the beginning it's like that, but with the time the mom is working, inviting them, that's the reason the picnics are wonderful, because you invite your husband. So the husband came, we need another class, something like that. It's not a solution, but it did happen. I remember very fast, one mom has 6 brothers, and the husband 7. And he said, nobody really they don't understand what this is. Could you provide a presentation? So I went to this house to provide a presentation for 7 days. We're sitting there, I said, what is autism? Because all the time was giving them, oh Maria, you need to be more strong. Oh Maria, you need to feel like your child like that. So it's autism. So I went to that presentation. Now there are many active in the community providing support for other parents. So it's different. And also I want to say that the new generation, Hispanic new generation who went to the college, Hispanic, are a little different, like all generations, maybe because they have, you know, the new generations are very strong, providing more participation for women. So there are so many new generations in Spanish, still calling, get information from them together that working together. So I believe it's a good environment.
I would just like to piggyback on what Felicia and Mariela has said. First disclaimer, I don't speak for everyone, I just speak for what my thoughts are on this. And lived experience coming from India, I come from a society or culture which is a little bit more male dominated. Things are structured, males do blah blah blah, and females do blah blah blah. Males are mostly we are the protectors, we go out and get the bread, and females usually nurture and take the social front of the family. So having grown up in that culture and seeing that, I've definitely seen that divide, and I see that the divide is becoming closer now as I see other families. I think things like this training, talking about it, opens doors to parents, fathers who can give themselves permission to talk about it and ask questions and be vulnerable if need be. Because I see many parents, many fathers feel that it's not my thing to talk about. I don't know what autism, you take care of that. I go and find career opportunities. That's just my statement. Thank you.
In your experience, sharing information back to the agents you said you work with, is it well received when you offer them information about family navigation and the system now?
I'll just try. I didn't understand the question properly, but I think I got something. I'll just speak for me. I know many families approach us being in a state of, okay, what do you think I should do? This is where I am. I have to be mindful of not sharing what has worked for me and giving that approach to them, because it could very well not work for them. So I have to be mindful of that, but I can work with them with those options, whatever options that are in front of them, without imposing my views on them. So I would just tell them, hey, you are here, these are your options. This is your family decision. I can help you reach that, but you will have to be in the seat of making that decision. So I would never try to impose that, because that's not going to be my job, and I would not do my job properly if I did that. Thank you.
And yeah, I will kind of piggyback on what Shagun said. With the Autism Society, a lot of my work is online, is on social media, and I will share with someone here. There are two hot topics: ABA therapy and moving to North Carolina. Oh my gosh, those two topics. Ooh. So people, what I do and what I always think about is I want to make sure I give people information so they can make an informed decision. So it doesn't matter what I think, and it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. It's like, okay, here's the information. Hopefully it's helpful to you. It can at least lead you to some next steps. So in that format and on that platform, definitely is a whole lot of opportunity to see how people are receiving the information we share. Personally, with my own experiences, I would say it's been kind of hit or miss. There are some people who I've worked with who's been very open, who has even asked me, how can I better help you? How can I better support you? And then there have been some people who have just kind of, for the lack of a better word, it's like they have just kind of checked out on their jobs. So it's kind of like, I'll just give you this, don't ask me anything else. I'll just give you this. And that's it. That's all I'm required to do. So don't come back to me for that. And so I think as navigators, it's important to kind of check in with yourselves, and see where you are in your role. If you ever get to a place where you've checked out, then you don't need to be checking in with people that day. Because that is not what we do, and that's not what that is about, so.
I'm going to try to answer the question about the cooking in the Hispanic community. So right now there are so many families crossing the borders. It's something everybody knows in the news, more and more people and children without hearings as well. And most of these children here in North Carolina, they don't have the documentations, and they are not eligible for Medicaid unless they have a private insurance, something like that. So in this case, when the system is not working, not working, in no way it's not working, but it's not, they are not eligible for the services, we encourage the parents to continue to be educated and self. For Autism Society, we have videos in Spanish. I just talked to Joanna from Ohio that if she would like to, she can get our link in Spanish, that we have the videos in Spanish to teach the families how to do the visual picture, structure the day, behaviors, everything. So you can say to the parents, it's not possible right now. I don't know if the law is going to change, but in either of the time, meantime, educate yourself. Go and put together families, put a video, 4 or 5 families discuss, go to our webinars where they are free webinars, everything. So there are some ways that we can help when something is not working in the way they would like to be. So this is the way I can respond. I don't know.
And I just want to piggyback on that too. If you find that there are broken systems, because there are a lot of broken systems, then what you can do, there are a lot of parent groups and support groups. You can send people there to kind of help them work through a way to channel their energy, because it takes a while for systemic change. It's just, oh my gosh. So, but people need to feel like they're doing something about it. And that's also a good thing to help families.
Any other questions, comments?
I know that there's also a number of folks that are clinic-based, that are here today as well. Not, we were thrilled on family navigators, but there's a number of clinic-based folks that are here. And I know something that we struggled with our clinical staff is you have goals that you want to work with the families, but then you're going into homes that are very culturally different. Is there any advice that you can give to our practitioners who are working one-on-one with families?
I have been invited by our medical team a few times to go into the homes of families who have originated from India. They were clueless about a few things, about going to the details about how does this even work. We are not aware. We don't want to be rude or disrespectful, asking those kind of questions. So again, that's where the cultural element comes in. So I was able to educate the clinical team about, yes. So for example, I'll just give you an example. The shower routine is different. The parents grew up in India and they grew up with a setting where there was a bucket and a tumbler of sorts, and they would use that as a practice to take a bath or take a shower. Now when they come to the States, they find themselves in a different setting, and that looks different. And if the clinician comes in, they're like, what is this and how do we address that and how do we even take care of that? So it's a small thing, but it's a big thing because it creates a difference in the progress of care for this family. So again, being culturally receptive about what that looks like and ask those questions in a respectful way about what that looks like and how we can help you. Again, it's keeping that level of, okay, everything cannot change, but being respectful and just talking about it. You know, sorry, I'm repeating this.
I would say that American families, like, you know, we're Americans, so, so we're not different in that regard, but, you know, we're diverse too, you know, depending on status, depending on, you know, where you live, you know. And so what comes up for me when I think of that, or I would say just ask, you know, I think it's important to remember that we're people. And yes, you have a professional role, but if you talk to me and ask me, you know, I will tell you, you know, we can get there together. I think it's just important for us to feel that we can trust, because I think with our culture, there's sometimes this barrier of trust, and so we might hold back until we feel safe. So I think for us, it's just make us feel safe, and then we can disclose. Then we can get down to the nuts and bolts. But if we feel like we gotta feel you out first, then there might be a little bit of this in the beginning. So
I would like to congratulate the professional who coming here because something that we're looking so much for that. So what I wanted to say is share with colleagues about this important training, because really it's helping so much so many families, especially with Latino families who are waiting to be help from professionals. So you can have at least writing like that. This is the thing we'll provide, because some families they don't know that the pediatrician needs to provide a referral for this patient for speech therapy education. They don't know. They're looking for all of the work. Where is in the family, and the doctors, the pediatrician, the pediatrician, they have the list of all of the providers for the speech therapy occupation, and they don't know. So if we can work about that. See, we have a child with autism with another condition. Let's work on make a list all the services that I can help you. And the families can like, oh, I can request this one, something like that. And also to offer positions for bilingual the family navigator would be great. And bilingual or interpreter is going to make a lot of change. Thank you so much.
I just had one comment. I wanted to say how much I appreciate everything you all have just discussed here and your willingness to come and share this with the group, because I think that in every training there ought to be a panel like you three, and what would have been 4, that just helps others to, you know, to understand and to guide folks, you know, in terms of how to approach things, how to meet them where they are, and you know, and really provide that, you know, that cultural education that you couldn't necessarily get just from maybe reading things or it's just been really phenomenal. I really appreciate it.
Well, let's thank our panelists one more time.